Hi, good
Hi,
morning to
how are
you.
you?
Good evening from India. We have announcement of a trade deal, and
Yes.
you've seen both sides. Trump says that India has promised not to buy Russian oil, but Indian Prime Minister's response makes no such commitment. But Trump says I've reduced the tariffs to 18%. And then he says that besides everything else, Prime Minister Modi has also agreed to buy American, in addition to 300 billion in, 500 billion in some other purchases. Anyway, there's an existing agreement to buy 300 billion, so there's not much of a hard-coded commitment from the Indian side. So Trump is obviously using a lot of hyperbole, making some claims. But the good thing is there's an announcement of a deal. But there's more statements coming from Trump than from India, especially to Trump's statement that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil. There's nothing official from the Indian side to that. How do you view these developments, Professor Sachs?
Well, basically, the United States is unstable and irresponsible, but backing down from the most outlandish actions of this government a few months ago. They made no sense. They antagonized India. They disrupted trade. And I think somebody finally explained to Trump that none of this was serving any American interests at all. And so Trump has backed down to an important extent. Everything about Trump and trade is erratic, not sensible, not accomplishing any U.S. goals, but better 18% tariffs than 50% tariffs or 500% tariffs. But I wouldn't take at face value any single statement by the U.S. government. I think everything is just complete improvisation, a lot of baloney, a lot of malarkey, but probably somebody has prevailed inside the White House to say, why antagonize India?
So, what did Trump or what did America gain in the last
Nothing.
4 months of putting
Nothing.
pressure on India?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Whatever is agreed today could have been agreed before. Nothing is gained. There's no pressure. India has no, U.S. has no leverage on India. So none of this is anything other than Trump's delusion that the U.S. is the be-all and end-all of the universe. And so his writ is the command of for the whole world. But that's Trump's delusion, that the U.S. market is so big, so consequential, so important that he can get every other country to fall into line. But the U.S. market is not very important in this way. The main lesson of the last year is that despite all of the U.S. bluster, the world did just fine last year. It traded more with each other. India and China are in the process of restoring what will be the most important trade relations between the two giants. And in general, everybody is diversifying away from the United States. Even Canada, the country right on our border, has just signed a strategic partnership with China. Britain, which is essentially a vassal state of the United States, was in Beijing against Mr. Trump's orders, meeting with China to make deals. India has signed a trade deal with the European Union. All of this is basically the rest of the world saying, we're not going to be played by Trump. We're not going to be played by the United States. We want open trade. We actually want rules and principles and stability. And I think the U.S. is somebody has recognized this today, that the U.S. is in a losing position on all of this. And don't forget, it may be that the U.S. Supreme Court will, as it should, rule that everything Trump has done is illegal anyway, because he doesn't have the authority to do any of this, in my view.
Do you think this could be also a result of what Ursula von der Leyen described as the mother of all deals that was signed on the 27th of January, just a few days back, in New Delhi between the EU and India, the FTA? Did that also build pressure on America and on Trump?
Surely, yes. Surely, every time India has just reached out, first at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to reestablish good lines of cooperation with China, India forging ahead with the European Union, India strengthening its ties with Africa. Of course, this is noted. Again, we don't have very good strategists in the United States, and they're obsessed with other things. But surely they notice such developments, and I'm quite certain that it played a role in this walking back of the U.S. position.
Now, we had very, very aggressive statements by Peter Navarro. He speaks so badly. He's so rude. He makes reckless comments, ill-informed. He said, you have got to stop Brahmins profiteering at the expense of the Indian people. And then he said that if India wants to be treated like a strategic partner, it better start behaving like one. He called India a laundromat for Russia. He called the Russia-Ukraine war Modi's war. And he went a little overboard in sort of targeting Prime Minister Modi, targeting India. And then we had the US Commerce Secretary recently who said that because Narendra Modi did not agree to a Friday deadline, 2 Friday deadlines, we're going to make it more difficult for India now. There's no question of them getting it at the terms earlier we had agreed on. But if you look at the 18%, this is lower than what had been put on the table earlier. Isn't someone going to ask the American Commerce Secretary, Peter Navarro, Donald Trump, that you said that now, because India didn't agree on the first go, you're going to make it really difficult for them, you're going to squeeze them, then isn't someone in Washington, some analyst, some journalist, somebody there, going to ask the White House that, listen, you did all of this, but eventually you ended up giving the Indians what they asked for in the first place. So what did you get? What did you gain? Are these questions not going to be asked in the American media?
Well, let me say, first of all, I have to apologize because Peter Navarro has a PhD from my economics department. Not mine alone. He wasn't my student, but he is a PhD from the Harvard economics department. It may be the worst PhD we ever did. This man is completely incompetent.
So reckless.
Completely economically ignorant. So I do want to unfortunately say sorry about that. I don't know how it happened, but he did apparently get a PhD from the Harvard economics department. Of course, what he said was vulgar. Mr. Lutnick, our Commerce Secretary, is spending more time on why his name is all over the Epstein files right now, frankly, than he is on the question of the trade deal with India. And I think nobody will ask specifically about India, because what's happening more generally is that the sense of confusion in the White House, a group being in way over their heads, the militarization of American streets, people being killed by ICE in Minneapolis and in other cities in the U.S. This is giving an overall impression in the United States, very widely held, that this is an administration that is failing. So it's not a matter of individual decision, it's a matter of a sense that this is a group flailing around, and one that could be in an open war, by the way, in the next days with Iran. It just is not a group that has a strategy, a plan, a sense of what they're doing. And what we're seeing with India, indeed, could have happened. It could have happened a year ago, of course. Everything that happened in the interim was a mess. It didn't show American power, it showed American weakness. It helped India rightly to understand, diversify. There is no strategic alliance with the United States. The whole idea is ridiculous in my mind. India doesn't need a strategic alliance with the United States. India is the biggest country in the world by population. It's going to be overtake the United States before mid-century in size of the economy. It doesn't need an alliance with the United States. It needs to look after its own interests, which are open trade and good relations across the world, not some kind of alliance with an untrustworthy partner.
We spoke some time back, and you were visiting India. You've spoken to a lot of people here in India. You have close connections, and so you have a bigger perspective. Professor Sachs, what people in India would want to know is these circumstances, this ostensible trade battle, one-sided, if I may, so one-sided trade battle, how, and now the announcement by Trump of slashing down the tariffs, announcing a trade deal, and all ending well. What impact has it had on India as a nation globally, our stature, our position, the way we are going to be perceived? And how has India handled it? How has the Prime Minister of India handled it, in your view?
I think India has handled it extremely well. Both economically, where the results are very, very strong for India, despite all of the weirdness of U.S. policy, and also diplomatically, which is that India has strengthened its relations with countries around the world, which is very good for India. India this year has the presidency of the BRICS. The BRICS is extremely important for India and for the world. It basically says we're not going to be run by the United States. The whole idea is ridiculous. The US is 14% of world output. The BRICS is well over 40% of world output. And the BRICS are saying as a group, we want an open multilateral system, and we don't want to be bullied by anybody. And so I think this is India's fundamental situation, which is it's a world leader, it's a superpower. It should not, as I keep saying, it shouldn't be part of the Quad or any US gimmick against China. India is just too big and important and independent for being played by the US in any way. And in fact, I believe that India and China should have close economic relations because it'll be mutually beneficial for both and excellent for the whole world. So I think Prime Minister Modi's done extremely well. And I think India is in a very good position. It's soaring. It's the fastest growing large economy in the world.